Welcome everybody, it's Unstoppable Stiletsy again, and I got an Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition casted match for you today. We're looking at yet another Breaking Me Chinese game, this time against the Ethiopians. Quite a bit of a different challenge this time. Before we get into the match itself, we need to check out the map and see what's going to go on here. How is this map going to particularly influence these players? So it looks like we are on the Hungarian plains, if I'm correct. On this map, you have one trade route over here and one over here. This one is clearly more targeted towards blue. This one towards red. You also got quite a few native settlements on this map as well. So yeah, quite a lot going on here. Let's see what's happening. So last we were doing casted games, we saw another Breaking Me Chinese game. I believe this is the fourth one we've seen so far. So yeah, this is going to be quite exciting to see how China actually does against Ethiopia using the Breaking Me build. Basically, the main essence of the Breaking Me build for China is go with the French consulate followed by Porcelain Tower as your first wonder. So, in general, it focuses on an emphasis of resources over free units, right? Because if you know what we do mostly is most Chinas in their build orders, they usually want to go for the Summer Palace, get those free banner armies. It's like really been the gold standard for many years is China in competitive, you know? The only time you sort of saw a deviation from that is if they wanted to do something with the White Pagoda and the Disciples. But other than that, Summer Palace was always the way to go. Now, with this China, we see the Porcelain Tower being the first thing done. So those resources start coming in real early. Is building a trading post here. A really forward one, I would say, since this is technically on the trade route of blue, so definitely eating into his trade a little bit there, which is pretty interesting. Now, what are we going to see this game in terms of Ethiopia? It looks like Ethiopia so far has constructed their granary and got their village dogs technology. Well, village dogs is basically hunting dogs, but yeah, they're dogs and they help you to eat more meat as villagers. That's all you need to know about that. Ethiopia, as well as the other African civ, the Hausa, has the wonderful advantage of building these free buildings called granaries, which essentially allows you to gain improved gather rate from hunting around them, pretty much. So it's a really good way to get a lot of meat early, especially since they're, well, free to build, you know. That's always nice. It's always nice to have free things. That's definitely. So what's the Ethiopia deck here? So the infamous Trinity card. Instead of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, we got the Villager, and the Abun. So I don't know which one's the Father, which one's the Son, and which one's the Holy Spirit here. But yeah, pretty much. Yeah, especially when the Villager comes out as a female, then you really don't know what's going on. But that's to figure out for another day, I guess. Other than that, though, what sort of cards we have here? We got some primary crates here. We got Gascanias, Shotel Warriors, the nifty Cannoneer shipment for some influence, Berber allies, nice fort here with some influence. We also got the Tabid card. All your existing and newly constructed mountain monsters contain more coins. So, yep, it makes the mountain monsters just a little bit more valuable for you to get. Pretty much, yeah. So how is this Ethiopia going to handle their stuff? So they're going to go up with the Habesha, it looks like, for their alliance. And checking back in with the Chinese up here. I'm assuming it's the Porcelain Tower, no one breaking me. Yep, he's doing that. He's got his French consulate out, thanks to the T-Export card. Bringing them lots of export to be able to afford those nice crate technologies that the French gives us, pretty much. Helps you with age-up timing, helps you with getting your buildings out, it gives you the bit of coin. It's quite nice. You know, for the longest time, I always figured going with the French consul with China was kind of out of reach, you know what I mean? Just because it felt like in the old game, you didn't have a nifty card like the T-Export one to get an export so quickly as China. Now, with that card in Definitive Edition, you can actually go for things like the French consulate and get those crates rather quickly to the point that it's actually beneficial to you and not sort of a later game sort of drag to go through it, which is quite nice. Yeah. We also see China pretty active on the map, trying to get lots of treasures pretty much. Might get this nice XP one here as Ethiopia perhaps. Mountain Monastery will go up over here. One reason why the Trinity card of Ethiopia is so good is because your Abun priests can actually gather from these mountain monasteries too. So you don't just have to put your normal vills on, you can put those priests on too to do some extra work for you, which is quite nice. As you know, with mountain monasteries, not only do you gather coin from these, but you also can gather influence from them. There are different tactics on the building that lets you decide how much coin do you want to get and how much influence do you want to get while you're working on. And you can continue to gather coin and influence from your mountain monastery until the natural coin from the mine that you place a monastery on expires pretty much. And then it's just, well, just a normal building then that you can continue to research your alliance-based technologies from, which is quite nice. War camp is up. Created some Gascanyas over here. These are essentially Ethiopian musketeers, even though they don't even have muskets. They just throw spears pretty much. But if you look at the stats here, pretty clearly it's a musketeer, you know, a range attack and a melee attack against cavalry. Sword, the main difference you'll notice right away with the Gascanya is it actually costs food and wood. So no coin involved, which is quite nice if you're trying to save up for more things with coin. Also, it has 13 range instead of 12, so it actually throws a bit farther than the average musket does with its 12 range, which is quite good. China going up with the Confucian Academy now as part of their whole fast fortress strategy, boosted of course by the French consul and the crates it provides. What is Ethiopia going to do? Ethiopia right now is getting 700 coin right now, continuing to do vills, and continuing to train some of these zebu cattle from the livestock market. This is really important to do as an African civ because, as you know, the livestock market allows you to sell off these cattle for either wood or coin. And as long as the cattle are there again found at the livestock market, they will actually generate a bit of influence as well. So even once you start running out of all of your mountain monasteries and the resources inside of them, you can continue to get a bit of influence as well from these cattle, as long as they're being found at the market, of course. Right. And as you see in this deck here of Ethiopia, they do have a few pretty critical influence shipments here in the early game. The cannoneers and the camels come to mind right away. But also even this late game camel shipment as well. So you totally want to make sure that you're keeping up with that influence production as much as possible so you can get those quick support shipments where needed. Looks like Ethiopia is just clicking up now. Looks like they were generating a little bit of resources there for a second or two, and they probably could have aged up a little bit faster. I'm guessing he was probably hesitating a little bit and deciding, what am I going to do? It looks like I'm under pressure. Do I age up? Do I try to defend it? And sometimes that sort of hesitation can cost you the match, so you have to be careful of that sort of thing. Looks like the Chinese army is coming in strong with that flamethrower, thanks to the castle and flamethrower shipment we saw in the last game. And here is the hand mortars. The hand mortars, the bringer of siege. These things are very harmful if you don't take these out from China. These are the things that does very good long-range siege. And what makes the hand mortars particularly dangerous, I think, in the case of China is, unlike normal mortars where there's just a few of them and you have to worry about sniping just one or two with your culverin or whatever, China, you got 1 million of these hand mortars in a big giant like arc like this. So you have to go after that one, that one, that one, that one. In some ways it takes even more time to deal with them all before, you know, they're completely finished. And in all that time, look at all the damage it does. I mean, this town center is almost ready to go down right now. And Ethiopia really doesn't have a lot of defense here. I mean, they got some Gascanyas. They made some of the Somali Issa warriors. Since it does look like they went with the Ethiopian alliance for their Age 3 alliance, which will let them get access to the Somali native warriors. mainly the Issa warrior as well as the other one that's good against artillery. So yeah, looks like right here, you got nothing to lose. You gotta send the Shotels in against the mortars, and you kinda have to hope that you can set up some sort of defense to... Oh yeah, big time. I mean, look at him just trying to run around right now and scramble these Shotel warriors into position. Choosing to go after the Arquebusiers first since they were an easier target. Now is trying to go back in towards the mortars. Wow, look at that. Mortars completely unprotected. Ormo horsemen coming in as well. This is going to be even harder to deal with. Oh, big time. Yeah. China has to sort of lick their wounds and try to go for another push very soon, I'm imagining here. Yeah, seems like it. Oh, big time. Also, the Abun's sort of healing them up too a bit there, which is nice. So what does China do now, exactly? So China ships in 10 Arquebusiers there, their skirms. They can ship in the Steppe Riders. They can get the Meteor Hammers. They could get their Beiyang army going now to get the veteran upgrades going for their Mongolian army cav units. Does go for the War Academy this game, so we are going to see other bear armies other than the Mongolian one here I'm seeing. Probably because of the large volume of infantry that you're seeing down there, namely light infantry too. Shock infantry, these Shotel warriors, which actually counts as a cavalry unit. Yeah, shock infantry. So, a lot of different dangers to worry about there. I mean, I definitely don't think you're going to beat Gascanyas and Issa warriors by using Steppe Riders, so you kind of have to diversify a bit if you're going to make that push possible. As for right now, though, we're still continuing to do those Mongolian armies, namely probably for the Kejiks to try to deal with all this cavalry type of stuff. And after that, yep, the Beiyang army is coming in, so there is going to still be an emphasis on these Mongolian armies, but it is starting to train in the territorial armies as well. The ones that includes the Changdao and the Arquebusier, so a little bit more attention to infantry as well. Also, there is a Sebastopol mortar out from the Ethiopians. This thing is a monster unit. Look at how big it is. This thing does a lot of damage. It's good against units, and it's good against buildings. It's like a massive piece of heavy artillery, that you really need to take very seriously usually. Especially considering it has two different modes. You can either stick in the mode that does more concentrated damage in a smaller area, or more widespread, lesser damage in a wide area. So yeah, looks like China was able to counteract all that stuff with some careful planning, and with the particularly anti-artillery emphasis on cavalry here. Looks like that was a GG, and Breaking Me was able to break Ethiopia pretty much quite well. In terms of post-game, looks like Ethiopia did have a little bit of extra resources, but was pretty much neck and neck there. In terms of military, it looks like China won from pure numbers, it seems like. Yeah, kind of a flip from the last game against the British. In the game against the British, don't want to spoil too much, but in general, British massed a bigger army and China was the underdog with the size of theirs. But in this case, China stuck to the Chinese recipe of having armies of lots of units and coming out on top in unfavorable fights. So, good for him there. Thank you for watching this casted match. Hopefully we'll get into the next one pretty soon. And signing off now from this one. See you on the next one.